problem with the post-colonial theory, or what I would call fast post-colonial theory, like you have fast food, for example, or fast fashion, is that it's a very basic understanding where anything in the global south is colonial, for example, and that modernity isn't necessarily a colonial product. So for me, this is, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't work on the ground because Egypt has a much more complicated history with a power game which is much more large. In the 19th century, it was a bit different because the segregation worked more vertically. So people were still in contact with one another, which is less the case today. As for how can architecture mediate, or you mean arrange, extreme poverty, I'm not sure. But what I think the lesson of Cairo is, for example, when you see the public grands ensembles, I don't know how you say this in English, but this, public housing, subsidized housing, there are a lot of them in Cairo built from the 1950s, 60s, 70s. And the way that they cannibalized literally the place, they built extensions, up, lateral, up, down. And so suddenly a cube or a rectangle becomes something. So this ability, ingenuity to appropriate things, maybe this is a kind of lesson we can learn from Cairo. The dynasty who took over the rule of Cairo, or the rule of Egypt actually, from the 1800s, did a lot with planning, and so they, in a way, for example, what we call today downtown Cairo was a neighborhood created by the ruling dynasty, and they distributed land for free, so to encourage people to build, and they add stipulations to those plots. So in a way that they really both permitted, new quarters to emerge, but also they imposed the kind of building they wanted on those plots. So through this type of patronage, they did have an impact on the shape of the architectural landscape. One of the very importance of Heliopolis is the fact that the company also, it's a public company. It was a unique, and it's almost unique in Cairo, the possibility to see the day-to-day working of, a colonial venture or Egypto-Belgium venture. I speak of a joint venture because Egyptians and Syro-Lebanese and Levantines were very much involved in the managing of the estate and as owners also, etc. So this is one of the importance of Heliopolis, is that the archives are so rich that you can see how there were constant interplay and discussion. It's not that the omnipotent colonizer who comes and imposes, he had to deal with, real people and real, stuff. So this is why it's so interesting. That's a very interesting question, and all my colleagues who are specialists of Islamic art just hate this kind of societal, impact of what they do. They would rather prefer that people or the public appreciate Islamic art for Islamic art and not for a new understanding of Islam. They really are not very keen on this. But what I would say, and it's very important, all the works or most of the work on Islamic art and architecture, which has been done in the two past centuries, do emphasize that, in fact, Islamic art is not about an essentialization of Islam, but it's intercultural, it's hybrid, it's about hybridity, and it's about, again, interchange, cultural interchange and cultural interactions. So, in fact, when you study Islamic art, if you really study Islamic art, you quickly understand that it's more about exchanges with Asia, for example, exchanges with late antiquity. I mean, all this is into Islamic art. Today, most of the Islamic countries who are building Islamic art museums always have a section on Islamic style in the West, Orientalism. For them, it's part of Islamic art. It's the manifestation that the art was so important that it also penetrated Western art, Western architecture. You have all this neo-Islamic, etc. And for them, it's very important, and it's part of Islamic art. And it's same with the market. The market today, when they sell Islamic art, they also sell Orientalism and all this. So again, it's interactions. Egypt does not resist very easily the pressure of global capitalism, and in particular of money coming from the Gulf. So indeed, geographers today are speaking about the Dubaification of all Middle Eastern studies. It's really because they invest a lot in Amman, in Cairo, and with their money come forms and shapes that are quite different than, and this they don't. Egypt is not resisting very much.